Hi everyone, this is Ant. Today I'm going to show you some work, a couple of hours actually, to basically enable my game to support game controllers, gamepads. And this is the Godot version of the support for gamepads. And I'm showing you something that's actually working on the web. So it's fully web compatible too, and the results have been fantastic with the amount of work I've done. I'm actually quite shocked. So I'm going to just take you through kind of all the things I implemented, but then we're going to go into Godot and actually show you some of the things that you should watch out for when actually designing the game to make sure it's gamepad and controller aware and compatible. Because this is actually one of my first games I actually enabled the controller. I tried with libGDX using the GDX controllers, and I didn't get good results, or face some technical difficulties. But it was actually a no-brainer in Godot. So let's get started. So let's just start playing. And I could take off, and I'm just using the controller here, which is it's actually quite fun playing on the controller. And you not only could control kind of the helicopter, but you could also control the camera zoom and the camera rotation. So I could rotate and zoom in, zoom out. And I could fire. So I got to get used to all the different axes. So there's actually 3 sets of kind of like axes. One is to zoom in and out. That's one axis. And then the rotation, but you could also rotate this way. So there's actually quite a bit to do. And the way I designed it is, even if you don't have a PS2 PlayStation or Xbox controller, and you only have a D-pad like the old school joysticks, even with the old school joysticks, you will be able to control and fire the helicopter, right? So you just don't get camera access, but you could still use the mouse. So I'm going to switch over to the mouse, and it's seamless, right? So I'm using the scroll wheel for zoom, and I'm using the right mouse button drag for rotation. So I could actually I'm actually using both at the same time now. So it's amazing where I could actually it doesn't matter. You could actually use mouse and gamepad. Oh, I ran out of fuel there. I didn't keep track of my fuel. So also the thing is the exit screen. So you could resume, go to settings, or you could end game. See your stats, and there we go. And as you can see, this is the controller, and this is the mouse. So one of the things that I'm going to go into the code of Godot now. One of the things is when you're just using mouse, it's click and hover should indicate what you're looking at, right? But with controller, it's all about focus. And I couldn't get things to work because you actually have to focus on one of the control elements on the screen. So this is an important thing, is you won't be able to actually move to different things here. And by the way, there's no code needed to move to these different buttons. It's actually quite good because it actually it keeps track of which one is first, second, third, all that kind of stuff. And it just connects them all, which is super easy. But one of the things that you need to remember is if you detect the controller and you want to actually enable the controller, then you make sure you have to focus on one element. Because initially I didn't do it because I was just doing with the mouse, where the mouse only cares about hover and clicks, right? So that's one of the things. So let's look at Godot for a second. And we all know where to set up all the input. On the input map, Godot is amazing where you actually select, move right, move left. You just add, and then it basically says, okay, push a button that you want me to represent this action. And then you just put it on the controller, and boom, that's it, right? And it's set up that way. And you get to configure the dead zone, I'm not going to get into the dead zone, but basically how sensitive it is, how much do you need to move it to actually enable that detection, that sort of thing. And yeah, you just add them all here. And the only other thing you need to make sure is on all your buttons, you see this mode, you make sure it's not click or none. It has to be all. And if you look at the tooltip, it actually tells you, okay? It basically says the node will grab focus on mouse clip using the arrows and tab keys of the keyboard, using the D-pad, right? And also all the other things on your game controller. So that's important. So to have focus all. And then I've created some one-liner code that basically changes kind of like the grabbing of the focus if I do not detect any controllers. So basically I'm checking to see if get connected joypads, i.e. joysticks controllers, is not null, right? Because it could be null if it's not connected. And now that I know it's not null, I make sure the size is greater than 0, right? Or else you're going to get null pointer exception. It's not called null pointer exceptions in GDScript, but if it's greater than 0, it knows that you have a joypad, like a joystick or a gamepad or a controller, whatever you want to call it. And basically, you grab focus on that. And then one of the great things I did of designing this game, luckily I did, is I actually have all the button behavior in kind of one class. And I put all the signals and connections with this button class, so it's all configured. All I have to do is when I create a button, I got to make sure that I put it in a group called button, and then all buttons behave the same way, which is absolutely fantastic. And again, it's quite easy. So yeah, this line here is checked on every event, right? And people might say, hey, you know, that's not efficient. Actually, it is, because if I unplug the game controller, it will not actually grab focus anymore, and it will just behave like with just a mouse. And if I put it back in, then it enables the behavior that you want with a controller, right? And that behavior is, again, I'm using the controller here, is you want to grab the focus of which button it is, because there's no such thing as hover with the controller, okay? So that's basically it. So in summary, the things you need to watch out for is make sure you focus mode all. And the other thing is you actually have to grab focus of at least one button. And it should be the button that I put it as the play button. But you have to grab focus when you actually put a control element on there of at least one thing. Because if you don't do that, you won't be able to actually, automatically just move around between buttons. And that was the thing that would actually, I'm like, why isn't this working, right? And that's the only thing. So that's basically it. So overall, it's actually extremely easy, enabling gamepad controllers, either PS, PlayStation, Xbox. I bought this Logitech, which it's fairly cheap, and it emulates an Xbox, and no problems whatsoever. And it works under the web, which is really cool too. So that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I plan to release beta 2 with this feature, and maybe I'll put high scores, maybe not, because again, I want to do some other stuff this weekend, and so maybe in a couple of weeks I'll have it in production, like a full version and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and take care. Bye.